Since 1983, FAME has helped business and education work for Maine. Contact the authority, the Finance Authority of Maine. You're watching Mainebiz Sunday, Maine's business news source.
Welcome back. Barber Foods in Portland, Maine has been a family-owned business there since 1955, and they still are. But our next guest, who's joining us today, Bruce Wagner, is the first non-family member to be the CEO of that company. We're going to ask him about that transition, and he became the CEO there in 2009. Welcome, Bruce. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Al.
Great. Thanks for coming to the conference.
Oh, I'm very excited about it. I think it's wonderful to see the energies of Maine coming together.
It really is, and the conference is the Momentum Conference, and you kind of get a sense of that, and that feeling of coming out of the economic downturn, or at least trying to, and what's the next step in momentum, and we'll talk more about that, and especially the things that you've been doing. All right, we're going to start. So February 2009, you became the CEO. First of all, do two things for me. Tell us a little bit about Barber Foods. So make sure I think everybody knows it, but I'm sure they don't.
Sure.
Tell them what they do, and then tell us about how you came to be there.
Well, Barber Foods, as you said, is a family-owned business founded in 1955 by Gus Barber. He really started out making cut-up chicken and serving local markets. And by even cutting up chicken, which today is very common, he was bringing a new service to an industry that basically just bought whole parts. But very early on, he discovered that he could develop and make a nice stuffed breast. And then he worked on that and introduced it. His family joined him in that enterprise, and they've grown the business fantastically. And you nationally distributed.
I heard you this morning talking about that too in one of our panels, and you call it the center plate high-end entree, right?
Yes.
Is that what your core product is?
We're a frozen food, but we're not a convenience food.
You're not nuggets and fingers and wings.
We have done some of that, but our focus always should be on center plate entrees where we bring something very special. I just have to say that's part of working for Maine.
Yep.
When we bring these chicken and we fly them up here, we need to send them back with a lot of value.
Yep.
And you're not necessarily doing that with more commodity products like fingers.
Good. So how did they find you, and why are you here? Why are you the first non-family CEO?
Well, sometimes in the course of events, the environment changes, and that certainly happened for all food companies in the United States. Gus, in starting the business, could go see his friends at Hannaford, make a suggestion, and get a new product introduced. Now what is Hannaford? They're part of Del Hayes globally and a national company. When you launch a new product, you have slotting fees, a tremendous amount of marketing hurdles. So in effect, the whole customer base has consolidated around giants, Walmart. You look at the clubs coming on, Sam's and Costco.
Right.
So instead of working with smaller customers, you now are working with behemoths with higher risk. And at the same time, the supplier base consolidated. When Gus started the business, Maine was a chicken growing state.
Right.
And now the closest place we get our chicken from is the Eastern Shore, Maryland, and Delaware. And all the chicken suppliers have consolidated, have tremendous power. And some of those, like Tyson and Purdue, grow chickens and also sell them competitively through those same retail markets. And the level of complexity really requires another level of sophistication and marketing.
So they felt the need to bring in that kind of expertise?
Yes, and it comes from having things not go the right way for a period. Had an absolutely best year in history in 05, but 06 really as a failure of not seeing some major market trends coming. Tyson and others took some share away very abruptly, and it was enough that on a shock basis, it's time to do something different.
The banks were looking for that too. They wanted that kind of stability, a new piece. So let's tell a little bit about where you come from, though, your company.
So my business is called Traverse CEO LLC. I had a long career at W.R. Grayson Company.
Right.
Where essentially I was an internal turnaround guy. From the time I was 27, I was going into joint ventures that were failing or businesses that had been bought from bankruptcy and restoring them to health. And actually became the pattern of my career. I ended as president of a global food packaging business with operations in 22 countries. I'll have to say you're either a product of your environment no matter what. In my case, I also became what I didn't like about my environment, and I left Grace feeling very passionately that family-owned businesses, or privately held businesses, can really do things for associates, the community, that are a higher level, and I have those values. So very much part of what I try to do at Traverse is save private businesses and have them continue successfully.
Coming in from the outside, I mean, you bring a whole new set of kind of values and eyeballs, I think, really to that to the process that maybe the family structure and the existing management couldn't do. One of the things you did was you really increased Barber Foods' advertising and changed the way it marketed itself.
Yes.
And one of the things you said was, quote, "We're a smaller company surrounded by giants and crushed by rising prices. We have to get our brand to market, focus on what we do best, and do it very efficiently." Mm-hmm. Talk more about why you invested in advertising. How hard was that to do, especially during a downturn?
I would say it was the scariest thing that we did, but I would only do it because it really was a long-term imperative. It wasn't a short-term imperative, it was a long-term. And the reason is that the barbers, again, in that simpler environment where you could go out and work locally, could work very, very effectively selling their products on promotion or deal. So if the price was dropped for a period with an advertising flyer, people would come and buy additional product.
Right.
And that's very, very successful for years. But when you get in these big national accounts, as I described, that becomes very, very expensive. And at some point, when you're only going to market and encouraging your volume to grow by dropping price, it can become a vicious downward cycle. Mm-hmm. And in fact, when Barber lost market share in 2006, that was led to me coming to the company, they tried to recover with lower prices. Well, unless your costs are lower and you're really more efficient, that drives down profitability. So I liken this to riding a horse.
Yep.
So if you only held one side of the rein, in this case doing deals and promotions, you would go in a circle, and that in this case could be a downward circle, a spiral down. Okay. The other rein is brand value, and how consumers recognize the value of brand, what you do, and become aware of it and are willing to try your product. And that rein did not exist. It had never been done. Okay. So I felt very strongly that we had to have both reins, that we couldn't discount ourselves to health and growth.
Right.
That particularly coming from Maine, particularly as a center of plate, especially entree, we had to make people know what it was we really brought. And that required advertising, not discounts.
And that's a bold move, and I'm sure it was a little bit different for the culture.
Yeah.
We're around out of time for this segment, but I'm going to keep you around because I want to talk more about that. I want to talk about, you mentioned too, that how you were really changing the company from a customer-driven to a consumer-driven company.
Yes.
And I also want to talk about your initiatives for your workforce. It's a very unique, interesting workforce that you have.
It is.
We're going to keep you around. We're going to do some of that for our afterthought segments that we show on the web.
Okay, thanks, Al.
Thanks a lot. Stick around. We'll be right back with Doug Hall, Innovation Guru. And if you want to catch any of the Afterthought segments, just go to the Mainebiz website and click on the Mainebiz Sunday link. We'll be right back.
Mainebiz Sunday is brought to you by Bangor Savings Bank, where you can enjoy free ATMs worldwide.